Awaken the Fire Within, 8 Transformative Lessons for a Motivated Life. Part 1. Reclaiming Your Inner Power. Chapter 1. The Moment You Decide to Rise. There comes a moment in every person's life when the quiet frustration inside becomes impossible to ignore. It may not be loud, it may not be dramatic, but it is unmistakable. It is the moment you look at your life, your habits, your fears, your routines, your choices, and something deep inside finally whispers, "I can't keep living like this. I am meant for more." This moment, though fragile, is powerful. It marks the beginning of transformation. It is not about anger, regret, or guilt. It is about awakening. Something shifts. A spark, a realization, a new level of self-awareness. And once you feel it, you cannot go back to sleep. This chapter is the beginning of your journey, the moment you reclaim your inner power, the moment you choose to rise. Your past is not your identity. Many people stay stuck because they believe their past defines their potential. They mistake previous mistakes for permanent limitations. But life does not work that way. Who you were is not who you must remain. You may have failed. You may have hesitated. You may have wasted time. You may have doubted yourself again and again. But none of those moments determine your future. In fact, they prepare you for it. Every disappointment deepened your emotional strength. Every hardship clarified your values. Every setback sharpened your resilience. This is the secret most people never realize. The version of you that fell is not the same version of you that will rise. The difference between wanting change and choosing change. Almost everyone wants to transform. Very few people actually choose to. Wanting is passive, a desire, a wish, a thought. Choosing is active, a line you draw, a standard you set, a decision you commit to. Wanting says, "I hope things get better." Choosing says, "I will create better." This distinction shapes destinies. The moment you choose to rise, your brain begins to reorganize itself around your new identity. Your priorities shift. Your behaviors evolve. Your inner dialogue strengthens. Your energy increases. Before new habits appear, before new opportunities show up, before confidence grows, one thing must happen first. You must decide to become the kind of person who rises. Why so many people stay stuck? People stay trapped in the same patterns for predictable reasons. Number 1, they are waiting for motivation. Motivation is irreliable. If you wait for it, you will wait forever. Awakenings happen during discomfort, not after it. Number 2, they try to change everything at once. This creates overwhelm. Real transformation begins with one clear decision, then one small action, then another. Number 3, they are attached to their old identity. Even negative identities feel familiar. I'm not disciplined. I always fail. I'm just not that type of person. But an awakening requires you to release the version of you that no longer fits the life you want. Your new identity begins here.
Every powerful transformation starts with one question. Who am I becoming? Not, who was I? Who did I disappoint? Who did I fail? But, who do I choose to be now? Your answer defines the emotional direction of your future. When your identity changes, your actions follow naturally. You begin to think like someone committed. You begin to move like someone determined. You begin to speak like someone with purpose. You begin to live like someone who is rising. Eventually, this becomes effortless, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Rising requires a new standard. Growth demands higher standards. Not perfection, elevation. Ask yourself, what behaviors am I no longer accepting from myself? What excuses am I finally ready to drop? What emotional patterns am I willing to release? What level of discipline do I expect from the new me? Transformation begins when your standards become non-negotiable. This is not about forcing yourself to be perfect. It is about refusing to remain average. A new beginning in 10 minutes. The identity reset. Spend 10 minutes answering the questions below. This is your first step, your foundation. Which parts of my current life no longer reflect who I want to be? What habits or beliefs must I leave behind to evolve? What strengths or values do I want to build during the next year? Who is the version of me that I am committed to becoming? These answers are not just reflections. They are declarations. You are rewriting your identity. You are awakening your inner fire. You are deciding to rise. Chapter 2. The Fire Inside. How to Build Motivation That Never Dies. People misunderstand motivation. They treat it like a mood, something that appears magically or disappears without warning. But the truth is far simpler and far more liberating. Motivation is not something you find. It is something you build. This chapter reveals how to create motivation that lasts. Motivation rooted in identity, purpose, emotion, and structure. Once you learn how to generate your own fire, you will never again depend on sudden inspiration. Why motivation fades, and the one way to prevent it. Most people lose motivation because they rely on feelings instead of systems. Feelings fluctuate. Systems don't. Here are the 4 reasons motivation usually fades. 1. Vague goals. Your brain needs clarity. If you don't know what you're moving towards, you lose momentum. 2. Invisible progress. If you can't see improvement, your brain thinks nothing is happening. 3. No internal meaning. Without emotional connection, goals become chores. 4. Relying on inspiration. Inspiration is a spark. It lights the match, but you must keep the fire burning. In this chapter, you will learn exactly how to build motivation that sustains itself. Step 1. Build your emotional why. Your why is the emotional engine behind every transformation. You must feel it, not just think it. Ask yourself, what pain am I determined to escape? What future am I desperate to create? Who do I want to become for myself? What will my life look like in 1 year if I commit to this path? What will it look like if I don't? These answers create emotional gravity, a pull toward your future.
Step 2. Create a vision you can touch. Your vision must be vivid enough that you can feel it, imagine it, almost reach out and hold it. It's not, I want to be better. It's, I want to wake up with energy and purpose. I want to be disciplined and proud of myself.
I want to build a life I no longer need to escape from. The clearer your vision, the stronger your motivation. Step 3. Discipline protects the fire. Motivation ignites the fire. Discipline protects it. Here are 3 foundational systems that create unstoppable momentum. System 1. The 30-minute rule. Every day, no matter what, dedicate 30 minutes to improving your life. Learning, building skills, exercising, reflecting, planning. Consistency transforms you. System 2. The 2-minute rule. When you feel resistance, start with just 2 minutes. Momentum will take care of the rest. System 3. Visible progress. Use a calendar, journal, or habit tracker. Your brain needs to see success. Step 4. Emotional anchors, your permanent fuel. 3 emotional anchors drive long-term motivation. 1. Pain. Pain is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It shows you what must change. 2. Desire. Desire is your compass. It points you toward what is possible. 3. Identity. When you believe you are the type of person who shows up, you show up. Motivation rooted in identity does not disappear. Real motivation is a promise. Real transformation begins when you make a quiet promise to yourself. Even on the days I feel tired, uncertain, or unmotivated, I will still move. This is the mindset of the strongest people in the world. Not the luckiest, not the smartest, the most consistent. A story. The man who started with just 10 minutes. He didn't believe in himself. He lacked discipline. He doubted everything. But one day, he made a decision. He committed to spending just 10 minutes improving his life. 10 minutes turned into consistency. Consistency turned into confidence. Confidence turned into transformation. A year later, he became unrecognizable, not because he changed everything at once, but because he refused to quit. That man could be anyone, including you. Exercise. The fire map. Write down your emotional why, your 1-year vision, your 3 systems, your new identity. This map is the beginning of your transformation. It is not just a plan, it is the blueprint of the person you are becoming. Part 2. Mastering your mind and emotions. Chapters 3 and 4. How to build inner stability, emotional strength, and mental clarity, the foundations of a motivated life. Chapter 3. The mind you train is the life you create. If Part 1 was about awakening your strength, Part 2 is about mastering it. No matter how powerful your goals are, they mean nothing if your mind is untrained, chaotic, or easily overwhelmed. The truth is simple but profound. Your mind is your most powerful tool, or your most dangerous enemy. It depends on how you train it. Every habit you build, every decision you make, every emotion you feel, and every action you take flows from the quality of your mind. You cannot create a powerful life with an undisciplined mind, but a trained mind, it can reshape your entire world. This chapter teaches you how to train your mind the same way an athlete trains their body, with consistency, structure, and intention. Your thoughts shape your identity. Most people believe their thoughts reflect reality, but in truth, thoughts create reality. If you constantly think, "I'm behind, I'm not good enough, I always fail," your mind begins acting according to those beliefs. Your thoughts become an internal script, repeating themselves until they feel like truth. But thoughts are not commands, they are suggestions. and you choose which suggestions to accept. Your mind is incredibly adaptable. When you introduce new thoughts with repetition and emotion, your brain rewires itself, literally, through neuroplasticity. New thoughts create new beliefs. New beliefs create new behaviors. New behaviors create a new life. The transformation begins inside. Your inner dialogue determines your growth. Every day, you talk to yourself more than you talk to anyone else. Your internal voice is always speaking, criticizing, commenting, guiding, doubting, encouraging. If your inner voice is your enemy, you will always lose. If your inner voice becomes your ally, you will always find a way to win. Ask yourself, do I talk to myself with respect? Do I encourage myself the way I encourage others? Do I speak from fear or from possibility? Do I focus on solutions or on problems? Changing your life requires changing the way you speak to yourself. Your internal voice should not be a weapon, it should be a coach. Train your mind like a muscle. Mental strength is not natural, it is trained. Here are the 3 pillars of mental training. Pillar 1, focus. Strengthen your attention. You cannot build a meaningful life with a scattered mind. Strengthen your focus through deep work, 25 to 45 minutes of uninterrupted, intentional effort. Digital discipline, less scrolling, more learning. Environment design, fewer distractions, more clarity. A trained mind can enter deep focus quickly, while an untrained mind escapes into distraction at the slightest discomfort. Pillar 2, interpretation. Control the meaning you assign to events. 2 people can live the same situation and experience completely different realities. Why? Because interpretation shapes emotion. Example: one person sees failure as proof they're not good enough. Another sees failure as proof they're growing. Same event, different meaning, different life. Train yourself to interpret setbacks as part of the journey, not signs of inadequacy. When something difficult happens, ask, what is this teaching me? How can this make me stronger? How can I respond instead of react? You cannot control everything, but you can control the meaning, and meaning controls your destiny.
Pillar 3, self-mastery. Act according to values, not emotions. Most people act based on how they feel. Emotion says, I don't want to. Discomfort says, do it later. Fear says, avoid this. But the person who achieves anything meaningful acts according to values, not emotions. Value says, I will do this because it matters. Discipline says, I will show up even if it's uncomfortable. Identity says, this is who I am now. When you act according to values, your emotions eventually rise to match your actions. The 3 enemies of mental strength. You cannot master your mind if you don't recognize what weakens it. Number 1, rumination. Thinking the same negative thoughts repeatedly. Solution? Interrupt patterns with movement, breath work, journaling. Number 2, comparison. Measuring yourself against someone else's journey. Solution? Track your own progress, not theirs. Number 3, overthinking. Trying to predict outcomes instead of taking action. Solution? 80% clarity is enough. Move forward. A trained mind acts. A weakened mind avoids. A story. The athlete who trained his thoughts. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but he became a champion because he trained his mind fiercely. Every day, he repeated powerful statements. I am built for this. Pressure makes me stronger. I can endure more than I think. By training his thoughts, he trained his identity, and his results followed. Your mind works the same way. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes who you are. Exercise, the thought rebuild. Write down 3 negative thoughts you repeat often. For each one, write a new, empowering alternative. Repeat these new thoughts every morning for the next 7 days. This is how you reprogram your inner world, one thought at a time. Chapter 4. Emotional Strength, the quiet superpower of a motivated life. If your mind shapes your actions, your emotions shape your consistency. But most people misunderstand emotions. They try to suppress them, ignore them, or fight against them. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the ability to feel emotions without being controlled by them. This chapter teaches you emotional mastery, the quiet superpower behind lasting motivation. Emotions are messages, not commands. Every emotion carries information. Fear warns you about uncertainty. Frustration signals misalignment. Sadness points to loss. Anxiety highlights overwhelm. Excitement indicates possibility. Peace suggests clarity. But emotions are messages, not orders. You can feel fear and still act. You can feel doubt and still move. You can feel overwhelmed and still take one small step. People who believe emotions are commands stay stuck. People who see emotions as information move forward. Your emotional patterns shape your life. Most people don't realize they are repeating emotional loops. Panic, avoidance, guilt. Stress, distraction, regret. Fear, procrastination, self-criticism. These loops become automatic unless you interrupt them. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. What emotion do I feel most often? What behavior follows that emotion? Is that behavior helping me or hurting me? You cannot change what you never examine. The 3 levels of emotional strength. Emotional strength has levels, like training stages. Level 1, emotional awareness. You can name what you feel without judgment. This alone gives you power. Level 2, emotional regulation. You can calm yourself, refocus, or shift your state through breathwork, grounding exercises, journaling, movement, speaking your feelings aloud. This is how you stop emotions from taking control. Level 3, emotional intelligence in action. This is the highest level. You use emotions intentionally to guide decisions. Fear becomes preparation. Frustration becomes fuel. Desire becomes direction. Curiosity becomes courage. At this level, emotions work for you, not against you. How to stay motivated when your emotions collapse. Here is the truth no one talks about. Your emotional state collapses before your motivation does. If you want lasting motivation, you must stabilize your emotional world. Here are the 3 practices that create emotional stability. Practice 1. Micro-recovery. Take 5 to 10 minutes during the day to reset your emotional system. Walk, stretch, breathe. Close your eyes. Step outside. Slow down. Small resets prevent emotional burnout. Practice 2. Naming your feelings. When you name an emotion, I'm overwhelmed, I'm anxious, your brain becomes calmer. This is neurologically proven. Naming reduces emotional intensity. Practice 3. Returning to the present moment. Most emotional suffering comes from thinking about the past, worrying about the future. The present moment is almost always manageable. A story. The woman who stopped running from her feelings.
She was ambitious but constantly stressed. She tried to ignore her emotions, believing they were weaknesses. But the more she suppressed them, the more they controlled her. One day, overwhelmed and exhausted, she decided to face her emotions instead of fighting them. She named them, wrote them down, and allowed herself to feel them without judgment. Within months, she became calmer, clearer, and more grounded. Her success didn't come from avoiding emotions. It came from understanding them. Exercise. The emotional inventory. Write: what emotion dominates your life right now? What triggers it? What behavior follows it? Is that behavior helping you or hurting you? What healthier response can you practice next time? This simple exercise builds emotional strength, gently, consistently, powerfully.
Part 3. Reclaiming Momentum and Building Inner Fortitude. Chapters 5 through 6. Chapter 5. The Art of Reinvention. Becoming a new version of yourself. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they pause and realize a painful truth. The life they are living no longer reflects who they want to be. This realization can hit gently, like a whisper in the mind, or violently, like a storm that tears away everything familiar. But regardless of how it arrives, it carries one message. You can change. You can reinvent. You can build again. We often imagine reinvention as a sudden, dramatic transformation, quitting a job overnight, moving to a new city, starting a bold new chapter without hesitation. But the art of reinvention is rarely that cinematic. It is much quieter, much more intentional, and infinitely more personal. It begins with a simple choice. I refuse to be defined by who I used to be. 1. Reinvention is not escape. It's expansion. Many people fear reinvention because they feel it means abandoning their past. But reinvention is not a rejection of who you were. It is an expansion into who you can become. Think of your past as a draft, something that helped shape you but does not limit your future chapters. You can honor your past without being imprisoned by it. You can learn from your mistakes without dragging them into your future. You can carry your strengths forward and leave your regrets behind. When you reinvent yourself, you are not running away from your old life. You are moving toward a better one. 2. Identity is a choice, not a prison. We often underestimate how much of our identity we can actually reshape. People say things like, "I've always been like this. This is just who I am. I can't change now." But these beliefs are not truths. They are mental habits. At any moment, you can choose a new identity. Stronger, more disciplined, more courageous, more resilient. You can decide to become someone who wakes up earlier, studies consistently, exercises daily, speaks with confidence, takes responsibility instead of hiding from it, prioritizes their future over their convenience. Identity is not a fixed sculpture. It is a living, breathing masterpiece that can be reshaped at any point. 4. Reinvention is built on small wins, not grand gestures. People fail at transformation not because the goal is impossible, but because they try to change everything at once. Real reinvention is built with tiny bricks. 5 minutes of reading, 10 push-ups, 1 difficult conversation, a single day without procrastination, a new habit practiced consistently rather than perfectly. The world praises grand, dramatic transformations. Reality rewards small, persistent ones. Reinvention requires the courage to be a beginner again. This is the part people avoid. Reinventing yourself demands that you embrace the discomfort of being inexperienced. You will feel uncertain. You will feel slow. You will make mistakes that embarrass you. You will question your decision more than once. You will feel like quitting, especially in the early stages. But this is the tax of becoming someone new. Nobody becomes great without first being awkward, confused, clumsy, or wrong. If you can tolerate the discomfort of beginning, you unlock the privilege of mastery.
5. A story of quiet reinvention. The accountant who learned to live. A man named Ezra had spent 15 years working as an accountant. He was excellent at his job, respected by his colleagues, and trusted by his supervisors. But he felt empty. Not depressed, not traumatic, simply unfinished. Hidden inside him was an old dream: to write. At 38, he finally admitted the truth he'd been avoiding for years. I want a life that feels like mine. So he began a ritual. Every morning, before his commute, he wrote 1 page. Just 1. After 3 months, he had 90 pages. After a year, he had a 320-page draft. The book was not extraordinary, but the transformation was. He did not quit his job. He did not move to another city. He did not announce his reinvention online. But he reinvented himself quietly. From accountant who dreamed of writing to writer who also works as an accountant. Small steps, massive change. This is the art of reinvention. 6. You don't need permission to begin. Nobody needs to validate your dream. Nobody needs to understand your transformation. Nobody needs to approve of your new life. Reinvention is between you and your future, not you and the world. Give yourself permission to begin again. 7. The reinvention mantra. Repeat this to yourself whenever doubt tries to pull you back. Who I was is not who I have to be. Who I choose to become begins today. Chapter 6. Building unshakable resilience. Becoming the kind of person who does not break. Motivation will get you started. Discipline will keep you moving. But resilience is what keeps you standing when everything else collapses. Resilience is not about being emotionless or invincible. It's not about pretending you're fine when you're hurting. It is not about suppressing your fears or ignoring your failures. Resilience is the art of rising while wounded. It is the mindset that whispers, "Pain is temporary. I am not done yet." 1. Resilience begins where comfort ends. Every time you choose discomfort over avoidance, you become stronger. Every time you face a fear instead of hiding from it, you grow. Every time you attempt something difficult, even if you fail, your spirit gains more strength than you realize. Comfort is the enemy of resilience. Challenge is the architect of inner power. 2. Strength comes from meeting life without excuses. Excuses weaken the mind. They destroy momentum. They poison self-belief. Resilient people take responsibility for their lives, even for the parts that were not their fault.
This does not mean blaming yourself for things you didn't cause. It means claiming the power to change what comes next. Once you stop outsourcing blame, you stop outsourcing power. 3. Every obstacle is a training ground. You don't become resilient by reading about resilience. You become resilient by surviving something hard and discovering you are still standing. There is more courage in you than you know.
Think of every difficulty as an invitation. A setback trains your adaptability. A rejection trains your emotional maturity. A failure trains your persistence. A disappointment trains your humility. A challenge trains your courage. Life does not test you to break you. It tests you to prepare you. Number 4. The power of yet. One of the most powerful tools for resilience is a single word, yet. I can't do this, yet. I haven't succeeded, yet. I don't understand this, yet. My life isn't where I want it to be, yet. Yet transforms finality into possibility. Number 5. A story of resilience. The woman who refused to collapse. A woman named Leela lost everything in a single year. Her relationship, her job, and her sense of direction. Friends told her she was strong, but inside she felt like she was drowning. One night she wrote in her journal, "I am not strong. I am surviving because I have no choice." But she kept going, and slowly she rebuilt. New routines, new opportunities, new standards, new chapters. 2 years later, she looked back and realized something profound. I didn't survive because I had no choice. I survived because I refused to stop. Resilience does not always feel heroic in the moment. Often, it feels like exhaustion, confusion, and uncertainty. But survival is strength. Endurance is strength. Trying again is strength. Number 7. Emotional resilience. Feeling deeply without falling apart. To be resilient is not to be numb. To be resilient is to feel deeply without losing your center. Resilient people allow themselves to feel pain without drowning in it. Let themselves grieve, but not collapse. Express emotion, but don't let emotion control their actions. Face discomfort without denying their humanity. Emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals, but you must master them instead of being ruled by them. Number 8. The resilience ritual. One more step. There is one habit that defines all resilient people. They take one more step, even when tired, even when afraid, even when unsure. One more email, one more workout, one more hour of study, one more conversation, one more attempt. Small steps repeated in moments of weakness build unbreakable strength. Number 9. The resilience mantra. Repeat this whenever life tries to crush your spirit. I bend, but I do not break. I fall, but I rise again. I am not finished. Part 4. Living with Purpose and Igniting Lasting Transformation. Chapters 7 and 8. Chapter 7. The Power of Purpose. Creating a life that pulls you forward. A life without purpose feels heavy. A life with purpose feels magnetic. When you wake up each morning without a clear direction, even simple tasks drain your energy. But when your life is connected to something meaningful, a mission, a dream, a vision, the world feels different. It feels lighter, more alive, more intentional. Purpose is not luxury. It is fuel. It is the internal fire that transforms effort into passion and struggle into progress.
1. Purpose is not found, it is built. People often talk about purpose as if it's a treasure hidden somewhere waiting to be discovered. But purpose rarely arrives fully formed. It grows from actions, experiences, and decisions. You build purpose by living with awareness, not by waiting for clarity. Ask yourself, what activities make time feel shorter? What struggles am I willing to endure? What problems do I feel called to solve? What values feel non-negotiable in my life? Purpose emerges where passion, skill, and responsibility intersect. 2. Purpose gives pain a meaning. Pain without meaning feels unbearable. Pain with meaning becomes endurance. When you have a purpose, setbacks do not crush you. They shape you. Failures do not discourage you. They redirect you. Challenges do not exhaust you. They refine you. Pain does not disappear, but it becomes useful. For the athlete, pain builds strength. For the writer, rejection builds mastery. For the entrepreneur, failure builds wisdom. For the student, difficulty builds resilience. Purpose transforms suffering into growth. 3. Purpose must be bigger than your comfort. Small purposes lead to small lives. Great purposes lead to great lives. Your purpose should stretch you. It should demand more discipline than you currently have, more courage than you find comfortable, and more persistence than you think possible. If your purpose doesn't scare you at least a little, it is too small. 4. A story of purpose. The teacher who refused to give up. There was a teacher named Mara who worked in a school many people considered too difficult. Her students came from broken families, underserved neighborhoods, and unstable homes. People told her, "You can't save them. You can't fix the system. You're wasting your talent." But she stayed. One day, a student asked her, "Why do you even try?" She answered simply, "Because someone once tried for me." That was her purpose. Years later, dozens of her former students wrote to her, some joining universities, some starting businesses, some raising families. Every letter said the same thing: "You changed my life." Purpose does not always make noise. Sometimes it whispers, changes one life at a time, and grows into a legacy. 5. Purpose is a practice, not a statement. Purpose is not something you declare once. It is something you reaffirm daily through your actions. You show purpose by choosing discipline over distraction. You show purpose by returning to your goals even after failing. You show purpose by acting with integrity when no one is watching. You show purpose by aligning your decisions with your future, not your feelings. Purpose must be lived, not just spoken. 6. The purpose mantra. Whenever you feel lost or disconnected, remind yourself, my life has direction. My steps have meaning. I am aligned with something greater than myself. Chapter 8. Igniting Lasting Transformation. Becoming Your Highest Self. Transformation is not a moment. It is a lifestyle. It is not a single breakthrough. It is a series of choices repeated with consistency and courage. In the final lesson, you step into the ultimate goal of this entire journey, becoming the kind of person who lives with intention, discipline, passion, and conviction. This chapter is your blueprint for a life that lasts, not just temporary motivation, but permanent evolution. 1. Lasting change requires identity alignment. People fail to maintain change because they try to shift their habits while keeping the same identity. You cannot become fit while seeing yourself as someone who hates exercise. You cannot build wealth while believing money is too hard to manage. You cannot rise in your career while thinking, I'm not leadership material. You cannot become confident while repeating, I've always been shy. True transformation begins when your self-image upgrades first. Repeat until it becomes true. I am the kind of person who grows. I am the kind of person who follows through. Identity leads, habits follow. 2. The 3 pillars of permanent transformation. There are 3 foundations that make change sustainable. A. Consistency over intensity. Most people burn out because they chase intensity. Lasting change comes from consistency, small daily actions that accumulate into greatness. 5 minutes a day beats 2 hours once a week. Tiny habits shape massive outcomes. B. Systems over motivation. Motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. If your progress depends on your mood, you will fail often. Build routines that carry you even on bad days. A study routine, a workout schedule, a morning ritual, a weekly review, a fixed environment that supports your goals. Design your life so that success becomes the default, not the exception. C. Discipline over inspiration. Inspiration may start the journey, but discipline finishes it. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect. 4. You must outgrow the version of you that keeps you small. You cannot take your old self into your new life. Some habits, attitudes, and fears must be left behind. You must release the fear of judgment, the addiction to comfort, the need to be liked by everyone, the desire for instant gratification, the belief that you are not enough. Transformation demands a shedding of the person who survived but no longer serves you. 4. A story of transformation. The runner who couldn't run. A young man named Theo decided to become a runner despite never being athletic. On his first attempt, he couldn't run more than 200 meters. He felt embarrassed, defeated, and ready to quit.
But he made a promise. I will run every day, even if it's ugly, slow, or short. Some days he ran only 1 minute. Some days he walked the entire distance. Some days he hated the process. But he never stopped. After 8 months, he completed his first half marathon. Not because he was talented, but because he was consistent. Not because he felt motivated every day, but because he honored his identity. I am a runner. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It is often quiet, persistent, and honest. 5. The transformation loop. Lasting change comes from repeating this cycle. Awareness. See the truth about your habits and mindset. Intention. Set clear goals aligned with your purpose. Action. Take consistent steps without relying on emotion. Reflection. Review what works and what needs adjustment. Adaptation. Evolve your approach and upgrade your identity. Repeat this loop long enough and you will reinvent your life. 6. The highest version of you is already within you. You do not become your highest self by adding more. You become them by removing everything that blocks your greatness. Fear, doubt, laziness, limiting beliefs, old identities, toxic influences, unnecessary distractions. Your highest self is not an invention. It is a revelation. 7. The transformation mantra. Say this whenever you feel yourself slipping into old patterns. I am not who I was. I am growing into who I am meant to be. My future is shaped by my choices today. Conclusion. The awakening. You have now completed the 8 transformative lessons. This is not the end. It is the beginning. Every chapter was a spark. Every idea was a seed. Every reflection was an invitation. The fire within you has always been there. You simply had to awaken it. Walk forward with conviction. Live with courage. Choose discipline. Honor your purpose. Become the person your future self will thank you for. Your life is waiting to be rewritten, one powerful decision at a time.
If this video inspired you or helped you learn something new, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Motivation to Study English for 30 minutes every day. Your support is the energy that keeps us creating better and more meaningful videos every single day.